if the very choice that set the How to Train Your Dragon universe in motion was changed? What if Hiccup shoots down the Night Fury, finds it in that forest clearing, but instead of letting Toothless go, he kills the dragon instead? Well, I found 3 ways this story could go. In the first theory, Hiccup kills Toothless in the forest, and for the first time in his life, Burke finally gives him exactly what he always wanted. He stands there shaking, staring at the dead Night Fury, feeling not pride, but silence, then relief. He actually did the impossible. Hiccup drags proof back home, and Burke explodes. Stoic is stunned. Gobber laughs in disbelief. Astrid finally looks at him like he matters. Snotlot and the others have nothing to say. Hiccup has done what no one else ever managed to do. That feeling poisons him fast. Once Hiccup gets that approval, he craves more of it. He enters dragon training sharper, colder, and more focused. Instead of using training to understand dragons, he uses it to master them. He turns his intelligence into cruelty. The dead Night Fury becomes a blueprint for traps and specialized weapons built around dragon weaknesses. He becomes the smartest killer in the arena. Every victory pushes him further from the person he was supposed to become. When Stoic leads the fleet to the dragon's nest, Hiccup is there to kill the next impossible thing. The Red Death rises, but there's no Toothless, no wild aerial partnership. Instead, Hiccup wins the old Viking way, with numbers, traps, and sacrifice. Burke loses more people, but the Red Death falls. It should have been his greatest moment. Instead, it's the beginning of the end. 5 years later, Drago arrives, and Burke has nothing to stand against him. No united dragons, no Toothless, no Alpha. Drago's philosophy is built on domination, and Hiccup only understands a smaller version of that worldview. Drago steamrolls Burke. Stoic dies. Dragons either flee or fall under the Bewilderbeast's control. Hiccup gets exactly what he trained to be. A perfect dragon killer in a world ruled by someone worse. This is the shortest timeline, and perhaps the cruelest. Hiccup becomes exactly what Burke wanted, only to find out that version of himself was never enough to save it. But that's not the darkest possibility. In the second theory, Hiccup doesn't kill Toothless, he enslaves him. This one is nastier because it keeps the shape of the original story, while rotting out everything that made it beautiful. Hiccup still hesitates in the forest, but he lowers the knife not out of empathy, but realization. A living Night Fury is worth more than a dead one. Hiccup cuts Toothless loose just enough to keep him dependent. The prosthetic tail is built not as a gift, but as a leash, a machine the dragon cannot use without him. At first, Hiccup tells himself it's practicality, but soon he realizes the sheer power he holds. He commands the fastest dragon in the world. He forces the village to look at him with awe. Dragon training becomes humiliating for everyone else. Astrid notices the cruelty and smugness first. He calms dragons because he knows how to control them. Gobber mistakes it for confidence. Stoic for growth. Burke for leadership. Crucially, Toothless never trusts him. He obeys when he has to. Their flying is mechanical. Their victories empty. There is no shared wonder. When the Red Death rises, they still beat it with precision and experience. Hiccup remains a hero. Then How to Train Your Dragon 2 happens, and this rotten bond finally collapses. Drago's army forces dragons into obedience. Hiccup has spent years proving that same idea. Without a foundation of friendship, when the Bewilderbeast takes control, there's no deeper loyalty for Toothless to fall back on. Toothless turns because he was always just a prisoner who learned routines. Stoic dies not saving his son from a brainwashed friend, but watching the consequences of what Hiccup turned into. He dies because his son treats living creatures like machines. Valka makes it worse. She looks at Toothless and instantly sees ownership, not partnership. Instead of embracing her son, she sees a boy who built a more efficient cage. She tries to save him from himself, and then Toothless breaks, not for Hiccup, for himself. He throws off the Bewilderbeast's control because he's done being controlled. Hiccup creates the exact dragon Grimmel would fear, an alpha strong enough to hate captivity. For a moment, Hiccup thinks he's winning until he realizes the new alpha despises him. The world tilts. The dragons obey Toothless, and Toothless does not obey Hiccup. Astrid sees the truth. Gobber cannot defend him, and Valka leaves. Hiccup is left in the wreckage, realizing control is not loyalty. When Grimmel eventually enters, he wouldn't even have to beat Hiccup. He'd just manipulate this vulnerable, scared version of Toothless, letting Hiccup's broken system finish the job. But Theory 3 is the biggest one, because this version of Hiccup does kill Toothless at the beginning, and instead of regretting it enough to stop, he lets that moment turn him into the Grimmel of his generation. He kills Toothless in the forest, brings the body back. Burke celebrates. Stoic is proud, Astrid is impressed. The whole village finally sees Hiccup as one of them, and Hiccup realizes something terrifying. All he ever needed to be loved here was to become more brutal, so he leans into it. This version of Hiccup still has the same mind, the same inventiveness, the same ability to notice patterns nobody else sees. He simply points all of that in the wrong direction. Instead of using dragon knowledge to build coexistence, he uses it to build doctrine. He starts rewriting the dragon manual with field notes, weaknesses, traps, pressure points, behavioral triggers. He designs launchers that pin wings in place, gas mixtures that disable flight, cages that can hold larger breeds, and decoys that lure specific dragons into kill zones. He stops being the weak son of the chief and turns into something much worse, the first Viking on Burke who can industrialize dragon killing. That changes the first movie completely. The other kids are still the same at first. Snotlout wants glory, Fishleg still loves the facts more than the fight, Roughnut and Toughnut still treat everything like a joke. But Hiccup starts dragging them into a new kind of war. He teaches them that dragons are predictable, that they can be studied, categorized, neutralized. And because Burke respects results more than kindness, nobody stops him. Gobber actually helps refine some gear. Stoic thinks his son has finally discovered his calling. When the Red Death's nest is found, Hiccup becomes indispensable. Stoic is still the great chief, but Hiccup is the one with the plans. He engineers the attack route. He predicts the Queen's reactions. He turns the entire assault into a machine. Burke wins, but at a cost so high it should horrify him. It does not. By now, Hiccup has started believing that winning is the only thing that matters, because winning is the only language his world ever rewarded. That's when he starts looking beyond Burke, because once the Red Death is dead, the dragon raids that shaped Viking life begin to change, and Hiccup suddenly has room to think bigger. He has dragons captured for study. He has inventions nobody else can match. He has a father growing older and a reputation growing faster than his restraint. So he does what ambitious people always do when their home finally starts feeling too small. He expands. He starts taming hatchlings through imprinting, forcing loyalty before intelligence fully blooms. He starts subduing adult dragons through pain, routine, and dependency. He creates a dragon core that is not built on friendship like the writers we know, but on fear and conditioning. Burke stops becoming a village and starts becoming the center of a military project. This is the point where Astrid matters most, because Astrid, more than anyone else on Burke, would understand early that Hiccup is drifting into something ugly. She would admire his strength at first, because this version of him is finally decisive, respected, dangerous. But Astrid also understands courage, and real courage is not the same thing as cruelty. Once she sees what he's doing to dragons behind closed doors, once she understands that he's not trying to protect Burke anymore, and is instead trying to build something bigger and harsher, she becomes the first person close to him who truly fears him. Then Drago arrives, and instead of meeting an idealistic Hiccup who wants to stop war, Drago meets a younger reflection of himself, a brilliant dragon master who believes control justifies everything. In another life, they would have become immediate enemies, but in this one, they almost become allies. Almost. Because Hiccup cannot accept serving anybody. This is the key difference. Drago wants obedience, Hiccup wants ownership. So he studies Drago the same way he studied Dragon. He learns the rhythms of the Bewilderbeast. He learns the shape of Drago's dependence on fear. When Death's nest is found, Hiccup becomes indispensable. Stoic is still the great chief, but Hiccup is the one with plans. He engineers the attack route. He predicts Queen's reactions. He turns the entire assault into a machine. Burke wins, but at a cost so high it should horrify him. It does not. By now, Hiccup has started believing that winning is the only thing that matters, because winning is the only language his world ever rewarded. That's when he starts looking beyond Burke, because once the Red is dead, the dragon raids that shaking life begin to change. Hiccup suddenly has room to think bigger. He has dragons captured for study. He has inventions nobody else can match. He has a father growing older and a reputation growing faster than his restraint. So he does what his people always do when their home finally starts feeling too small. He expands. He starts taming hatchlings through imprint, forcing loyalty before intelligence fully blooms. He starts subduing adult dragons through pain, routine, and dependency. He creates a core that is not built on friendship like the writers we know, but on fear and conditioning. Burke stops becoming a village and starts becoming the center of a military project. This is the point where Astrid matters most. Astrid, more than anyone else on Burke, would understand early that Hiccup is drifting into something ugly. She would admire his strength at first, because this version of him is finally decisive, respected, dangerous. But Astrid also understands courage, and real courage is not the same thing as cruelty. Once she sees what he's doing to dragons behind closed doors, once she understands that he's not trying to protect Burke anymore, and is instead trying to build something bigger and harsher, she becomes the first person close to him, because an evil Hiccup, with years of invention, a warlord's instincts, captured dragons, and an alpha under his influence, is exactly the kind of person who could push dragonkind to the edge of permanent subjugation. The hidden world would stop being a secret sanctuary in that timeline. It would become the final battlefield between the last free dragons and the boy who once could have saved them. But what if there was a dragon so strong that even this Hiccup wouldn't be able to beat him? Well, that's the subject of this other video. Click on this video to see what it would look like if we created the strongest dragon in How to Train Your Dragon history. Go ahead, click it.